We want to take a look at how we can actually use that MongoDB connection to do a little bit more than simply just listing the databases or collections like we saw in our previous videos. The same process we did earlier. We're going to look at the code itself and then look at the results that happen from that code and go over those examples right here. So I have my sample query method right here so we can see what we're going to do with this. I'm going to just print out the query with a filter and projection. I'm going to call my showSillyMovies method. My showSillyMovies method is going to use the try with resources, passing a Mongo client using the create client. And in the create client, what I've done is I simply just extracted that method that we had, those 2 lines of code that we were using multiple times inside the previous example, and I put it in its own method. One of the things you often want to do is you want to refactor your code so you can make it so it's easier to use, and you don't have to repeat the same code over and over again. In this case, I'm simply making a method that I can access information, in this case creating a Mongo client from those resources, and so I have that same server API, that same Mongo client settings, and I return the Mongo client.create settings I was using inside the try with resources earlier, just extract it out to a method so it's a little bit cleaner and nicer to work with. So I then say that create client, I'm going to say, hey, Mongo database, get that database using that database name that we specified already. And my string SillyMovies is going to be find the SillyMovies from the database's collection of movies. So I'm going to go and look inside that. And so let's go ahead and take a look at that finally. And so our findSillyMovies takes that collection. Again, the collection is how we store information inside a Mongo database. And I'm going to get string results. I'm going to build an empty string to start off with this. I'm going to use a pretty print using the JSON writer settings.builder indent true. So it makes the JSON actually look kind of nice as we're working through it, so we can actually do some output for this. When we work with MongoDB, we have to work with BSON objects for doing a lot of the work with that. And so I have a BSON filter and projection that I'm working with to actually store those objects inside that. And they use static creation or static factory methods to build those components together. And the static factory methods are really easy to the static factory method says some pretty similar names to what the logic operations you're working on. And so you can see I have filters.and, filters.regex, filters.gte, which is greater than or equal to. And then I have projections.fields, projections.include, and projections.exclude. Oh, okay, so I can see how I'm putting that all together. And they stack together very nicely in a way that makes a lot of sense. So in this case, my filter and, so I'm going to have plots that are silly. I'm going to have greater than an IMDb rating of 5.6. So I'm going to have some decent movies that are silly. And then for my projection, I'm going to go and look at the fields. I want to include the title, the plot, and the genre. And I do not want to keep the ID because the ID value is not that helpful. And I'm actually doing something that's going to go to the user versus actually storing something in some other data set. And so I take those two BSON objects and I put them together by making a find iterable of document results, where I take the collection, I find, passing to the filter, I limit the by 5, and the projection of useful projection. I'm going to grab that data information together and only get 5 maximum results from that. Then I'm going to use the try with resources again. In this case, I'm going to make a cursor object of Mongo cursor, of type document, because again, everything has a type that we're working with as we talk about that, and using the results of that cursor so I can process the values of that result. As long as that cursor still has results, I'm going to go and add the results using cursor.next, taking the pretty print structure I did under the JSON writer settings, making so it looks nice, and appending a new line to it so I can have them all put together, where I put those results together in a nice output, and then as long as I'm done, I print that all out. So I go ahead and run that new system up here, so I'll clear my results. We're going to demo a query with filter and projection. Again, we have that same SLF4J warning, which you don't have to worry about at all. And then we can see we have the JSON values right here that we're getting on this, so I'm getting that JSON pretty print, so it makes it so it's really easy to read. And so the plot on that with King Arthur, the genres are adventure, comedy, and fantasy, and its title is Monty Python Holy Grail. And that matches exactly what I have right here, where title, plot, and genres are listed inside that. It's a silly plot is included, so I have that right there for the silly on there. That's the word silly right there, so the regex includes silly in the plot parameter. And the not Grand Theft Auto. The greater or equal parameter, the IMDb ratings is greater than or equal to 5.6, so I can grab those results on there. And so in that case, you can see right here, I have these results right here. I have also Holy Grail and the meaning of life and out of nature. And so those are results that I have for that. You can use this to do even more with this using MongoDB. Great way to actually work with non or no SQL style databases. You can learn a lot of cool stuff, but you can actually build this right into a Java project and do some really cool things. I hope this is a helpful example of how to work with MongoDB and Java to build a result. Have a great day. See you next time. See ya. Bye-bye.